On today's episode of Let's Talk Dog Business, we thought we would go into the realm of mindset. Now, mindset is one of those, it's a term, isn't it? It's one of those things that's just bandied around and you're like, what the actual fudge is that? Like, what does it mean? What is mindset?
What is it? And I was very much like that before I met you. It was something that I'd never really thought about. It was maybe a bit airy-fairy and a bit, do I really need that in my life? But I really need that in my life.
Yeah, it is. It's so interesting, isn't it? And I think it's one of these things that, again, in dog profession, and I don't see it hugely in other industries either, but certainly in our world, I don't see anybody really talking about mindset. No. I could be wrong, but it's definitely not very prevalent out there.
No, I think big corporate companies are trying to include, whether it's just a tick box exercise or whether they actually are concerned with how their employees, because it's all to do with motivation, isn't it? Yeah. If you're in the right mindset, you're going to feel more motivated and be more productive. And I guess it's like, from a business point of view for them, it could benefit them. So I suppose they are starting to include it. But I think if you're self-employed, you're just thinking work, get the money in. Yeah. You're not thinking like put any time aside for yourself, are you?
Yeah. And actually for me, mindset kind of covers that whole thing. Certainly again in our world of, do you even see yourself as a business owner?
Yeah.
Like that's a massive mindset shift, because if you don't think you are a business owner, you're not going to run a very successful business. And by successful, everybody's got their own definitions of what success means. Like, I know I've bandied around the fact that I'm striving to hit my 6 figures, but ultimately that I know as soon as I hit 6 figures, I'm not going to suddenly go, oh yeah, that's done, I'm going to go on to the next thing, because that's my personality. But yeah, it's that mindset of, if I don't even run my business like a business, how am I even going to bring in any money to just pay the bills? And it's that kind of thing, isn't it? It's like, you've still got to go out, and transactions are taking place. And by transactions, I mean you've got to go out, find a client, get them to pay you and deliver the work. And ultimately that is a business. And if we don't start looking at how we run these businesses, then that's a massive mindset problem for me.
Yeah. And ultimately you're serving the clients, aren't you? So whether you call it, we've had this big debate about sales versus booking. Yeah, I think we should bring it up. I think we should, because we've had this conversation. So back when I was a frustrated dog trainer with no time and just like with clients that I weren't satisfied by, I would have always called it a booking process, and it's not a sale. Like, in my head, I was like, no, a sale is next. That's what a sale is. No, a sale is when you buy something, but that's not what I do, because I don't sell a product or a service that is like tangible like that. I'm delivering this awesome service to, people and trying to help their dogs. At the end of the day, it's the dogs. That's what I would always think. So why would I call it a sale? And you almost think, by calling it a sale, the dog becomes a commodity. I think it conjures that up in a lot of people's heads, actually.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I've never ever felt that way.
Yeah, and I don't now. It's only recently that I've changed that opinion. But I would say that I think a lot of dog professionals are with me on that they would think, oh no, you can't call it a sale, because it devalues what you do if it's a sale.
I feel like all of you who are listening to this, please can you reach out to us and tell me whether you think it's a sale or a booking process, because we're not going to settle this argument. No. I think it's a sale still. But ultimately, it all comes back to that mindset, doesn't it? Like, you are still selling a service, like you've said. You are still delivering that business arm where you have to start looking at yourself as a business owner. And I appreciate, again, everyone's going to probably be on different paths, and some of it maybe is a hobby business for you where you're just doing it part-time. It's certainly how I started. I know a lot of people start like that, and then you naturally kind of fall into it, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, I've now got to set up a sole trader, I've got to pay my tax, I've got to do all this, and nobody really knows what you're doing, because nobody sits down and tells you how to do all of this stuff. You figure it out along the way. And if your mindset is poor enough that you don't own that side of yourself, then your business will be impacted, and your business will be the dogs that you are serving,
Yeah.
because you will not be approaching the clients in the right way. You will not be handling the clients in the right way, and therefore you will not be able to deliver your awesome knowledge and service to the dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. And that counts for a lot, doesn't it? And we were talking about how going in with a certain mindset to work with a client can really affect that session.
Yeah.
It can make or break it. Like
Yep.
because you're going to get clients that are really demotivated and haven't had a good week and have really struggled, depending on what the problem is. And any problem, actually, it could be a puppy, it could be a reactive dog that's really hard to manage. But if they haven't had a good week, and you come in and you end up going down with them, like, that isn't going to help them. They need the complete opposite, don't they? They need you to motivate them. They need you to bring them back up again to that level. But it can be so easy. Like, if you're not... Self-care is a thing that's bandied around a lot as well, isn't it? But if you're not taking care of yourself and your head isn't right, you can easily be brought down, and then you're not helping them at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we've both had it, haven't we? You go into those client consults, sessions, whatever you want to call them. It's a whole other conversation, what we call those.
We'll come to that as well.
But yeah, if you walk in and you've either got a client that, I don't know, let's say they haven't done the tasks that you've set them. And come on, let's face it, how often does that happen?
It happens a lot.
It happens a lot. But if your mindset is one of frustration, and it is, oh, for fuck's sake, like, I'm so pissed off at the fact that you have not done this, and I have already gone through this with you. It's, for me, I've had to do a lot of work on that realisation that we see them, and this is where my math fails me a little bit, so I'm going to go on an easy one. 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, there's your 50 hours. If you're only seeing them for 1 hour within that 50 hours, and there's obviously a hell of a lot more hours than that, how on earth are you supposed to get through everything you want to get through in that one session? And your mindset has to be able to understand what is going on with that whole big picture. They have lives outside of our sessions. Their dogs have lives outside of our sessions. Their dogs do everything that they're going to be doing that we wouldn't necessarily advocate for or be suggesting that they do. But it's all happening. And if we haven't got that mindset to go, oh, I understand this, and I can see it from the client's point of view, and really get on the same approach or wavelength, or again, whatever you want to call it, with that person, the human the human end of the dog, then you're just going to struggle, and you're going to be the one that walks away feeling shit.
But also, don't you find, I find this happens quite often, that I feel like a therapist.
God, yeah.
And we end up sometimes not even talking about the dog on a session. We just talk about them and what's happened in the week. Why do you feel the way you feel? What can be done to change that and get you back on track? So that, for me, I end up like being called the dog therapist quite a lot, and it's nothing to do with the dog.
Yeah, definitely been a marriage counsellor before.
Yeah.
You literally sat there and you're like, right, we're here for the dog, and then you've just got a couple duo at the end of each sofa and you're like, right, how do you feel about what's going on this week? And it's definitely not about the dog.
No.
But this is where mindset, it's a difficult one to try and narrow it down to really talk about it, because I think it touches upon so many different aspects of everything.
Well, look how many things we've just talked about.
Yeah, exactly. It's really, really difficult to just hone in on one thing, because, we're trying to get it across that we are real life trainers and behaviourists. We have these businesses that we are running, and these are the experiences that we are going through. And we really just wanted to be open and honest and talk about everything, because we just don't genuinely believe that it's talked about enough, or it's done in such a way where it's not beneficial to anybody. So with that in mind then, so for you then, Vix, what would you say are your big tips on what you've done for yourself with mindset?
I suppose the biggest, like, without mentioning money again, I mean, that is a biggie, and we will come back to that. But it's having, like, boundaries, because it can be so common, and I'm sure a lot of you listening can relate to this, that we need to take the work. We need to take the work when it comes along, and we need to just open ourselves up to everybody. And so by changing your boundaries, by changing even small things like working hours, like what are you prepared to work? What does life, in your ideal world, what does that life look like? Yeah. What hours would you be working? Would you be working weekends? Would you be working evenings? Or would you just be sticking to a more of a 9 to 5 type basis? And the clients, what do they look like? Do we ever just, like we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? Do we have an avatar in our head about our client? What do we want them to act like with us? How do we want them to interact with us? How do we want them to perform? How do we want them to interact with their dog? What sort of relationship do we want them to have with their dog, and what relationship don't we want them to have? So it's all these little factors for me that I've gone, do you know what? And we'll be coming back to niche, won't we? We'll be talking about niche on a later episode, but it comes almost back to niche a little bit of going, I need to do what's right for me. And if that means that I don't take every client on anymore and I don't work every hour that is offered, that most people offer, then that's fine. That's what I'm happy with. And that makes my life more, it makes me more content in my work-life balance. Great. So those things for me are probably the biggest.
Yeah. And do you know, I can completely resonate with that about, you almost subconsciously told, aren't you, in industry that you have to be working evening and weekends because everybody else works full time. And when you break it down logically, it just makes no sense, because if that was the case, then all of these other professions that are out there, you wouldn't have anything open during Monday through Friday, 9 till 5, would you? No. Nothing could be open. But for some reason, we tell ourselves, oh, because it's a dog, people's expectations of having a dog, they will do it outside of their work hours. And if anything, we all prove, and I'm pretty certain all of you listening will have proved this to some extent, you will have clients that you are seeing during the week, during daytime hours. That's not evenings.
Yeah.
And it's not weekends. So they are there, but it's the story we tell ourselves to go, oh, but we have to do it. We have to be able to offer that evening and weekend one.
Yeah. We need to accommodate everybody.
Yeah. And in all honesty, for me, I think when I had an open diary, when you kind of first start out, and again, that mindset of, oh my God, I actually just need some money coming in. I literally just need to take anything. I'll be at your beck and call. I will do all of it. You tell me what you need, I will do it. I'm there. Because you're in that scarcity mindset of, oh my God, I need some cash in and I need to prove that I can make this work. But then for me, when the kids came along and when I was, even through pregnancy, I was like, I can't physically do any of that. Like, I'm physically exhausted and now I have another human being to look after. I can't do all of those hours. And guess what? My business did not plummet. If anything, it skyrocketed because I started to put some of those boundaries in. And it just makes you realise and think, why? Why did we not do this from the start? It's almost like we tell ourselves, again, that story of, well, I'll do that for a certain period of time, and then once it's all up and running, then I'll put the boundaries in. But it's actually really difficult to do it that way.
Yeah, it is. Because again, you've got lots of growth work to do on what you've previously done before is like wired into your brain. And you've got to, like when you're working with dogs, you've got to rewire your own brain to train yourself to do something new. And that's really hard. And especially if you've got clients like Joe and I have clients that are very long term, aren't they? So this is another thing we'll be talking to you guys about retaining loyal clients and how you can keep clients rather than trying to find new ones constantly as well. So you and I have long-term clients, don't we? We have a lot of clients that we have on a long-term basis, and so an easy trap to fall into would be that you take someone on that can only work weekends and evenings because that's what you took it on. You went, no, it's all right. I don't normally work those hours, but I will to accommodate you. And it's just that one person, and then it ends up being another one and another one. And then if you've got them for a long period of time, which we invariably do, you're then stuck with that. And you're like, oh, actually, I wish I'd never said yes to this now because I've got them for like 6 months to a year of working myself around these evenings and weekends that I don't want to work actually anymore. But you're kind of in it and you're deep and you feel like you then can't dig yourself out the hole again. So that's something that even though my mindset has completely changed on a lot of things, I feel like 2024 needs to bring a bit more of those boundaries into play with working hours.
Yeah.
For me. And Christmas time off and things like that, you know, having holidays off. Mm-hmm. I again, with when you're self-employed, you don't have your little calendar of your 20 days holiday like you do in an office environment, do you? So you just end up going, oh no, I'll keep working, and that's how it easily can come into like burnout, can't it?
Yeah, and I think for me that's something I don't even know how it started, being completely honest, but I've been doing it for several years now, where I block book my diary is full until next year, and that's not full with work appointments, that's full with the time I need off. So I've mentioned that I've got 2 young kids, they're 2 and 4. They have the term times with holidays off, and because there's no childcare open during that time, or the childcare providers, I should say, that we choose to use, they close during those periods of time. So we have to make sure that the 6 weeks holiday is taken care of. And for me, I make sure I try and have those 6 weeks off. And if even I'd had that conversation with myself several years ago, like, 6 weeks off, are you having a laugh? Like, well, no, actually, and it works beautifully. And I will schedule all of those periods of time off and make sure that everything is worked around it. But that's that mindset, again, that I need to just manage my diary, because I don't want to be in burnout. I've never been in burnout from doing my dog work, but I was in burnout with corporate. I was doing 80-hour weeks 9 times out of 10, and I'd done that for the best part of 15 years. So I role reversed it and went, nope, I'm not doing that, and I need to manage that diary more. Certainly having kids made a huge difference for me, managing that diary.
Yeah, non-negotiable. It's forced
it's exactly
in a way.
that. And then even when I signed up to university, like they set the days. So they were like 2-3 days a week, you need to be in class, you were doing lectures. So I was like, okay, fine, there's 3 days there that I can't work because I've got to do this. So already that was blocked out of my diary. And then I could no longer work evenings because my husband was working a night shift when the kids were young. So for the last 4 years, I've not been able to work an evening because there's nobody there to look after the kids. But I'm still doing 90k a year, which I don't think is too shabby for not working all the hours we think we need to be doing. Yeah. But it's that. I hate the term, but I think it's important to go into it. So just, again, like mindset, it just makes no sense, does it? It's like, what is it? It's how you set your mind.
It's a real broad term for so many things, like we've already said today, isn't it? Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's that realisation that if you don't even look at this subject in whichever shape or form, you will impact your life. So not your business, your life. Because whatever the story you tell yourself will play out in front of you. And we talk about all the time about how when you surround yourself with the right people, I was just about to say that.
Good things are always going to happen.
Yeah. And they do happen to us, don't they? Whenever we're around amazing people, we have great things that happen off the back of it because we're in that positive mindset and we attract that positivity. Yeah. And it might sound a bit woo-woo, but I strongly believe in it.
Yeah.
Manifestations and, you know, I've got quite into those, and I feel that they do make a huge difference. They're scientifically proven to make a difference as well. So I think if you don't have that belief in it, maybe just look into it a little bit. And we're going to go into this. We've got so many good episodes lined up for you, haven't we?
It's a ridiculous amount to talk about.
I know. How are we going to fit in? Well, good job you've got us for a long time, because we will fit it all in eventually.
But yeah, it's that. Yeah, manifestations are a big one. I've started listening to loads of different podcasts on that just in itself, and it really sets me up for the day. But again, I didn't always do that. So these are the things that you can't necessarily just go straight into it. Like, it's not about standing in front of a mirror and giving yourself affirmations every day. That's not going to change anything really.
No. And that works for some people.
Yeah.
But it doesn't for others.
No. But it's a part of that bigger picture, isn't it? It's like you can't just go and implement that one thing. It needs to, A, be consistent. Like we always say with, certainly in our training businesses, it's like consistency is key. Keep doing it. It'll come. Keep doing it. It'll get better. But you have to look within yourself and go, what do I actually want? And I think that that's another big thing, which it kind of could come under something other than mindset, but at the same time, I think mindset's such a broad umbrella. Designing that business that you want, or if you're not comfortable with the term of owning a business, designing this dog work that you do around the life that you want.
Yeah, but Jo, that's so selfish. How could you ever just do that for yourself?
Why not? You get one life.
The poor dogs and the poor clients, they're not going to get the best deal, are they? Or are they?
Of course they are, because they're going to get the best version of me. If I'm going to a client and I'm pissed off and I'm tired, which is easily done in my house, like I say, the 2 toddlers, you could easily go out and be absolutely battered and not deliver your best service and just be pissed off that they haven't done, they being the client, that they haven't done anything that you've asked them to do. But again, you've got to understand from their side of it. And I'm a massive believer in self-reflection. So if I see that something's not working, I will take that on myself, which arguably you could say is another burden. But for me, it just makes me feel better about, okay, what can I learn about myself and how can I make it so that that client understands what they need to be doing more? Because clearly the way that I've communicated it just hasn't hit home with them. It's just not landed. And that's not on them, that's on me.
Yeah.
So it's that mindset again of how can I better myself to be able to deliver a better service so that the dogs do actually benefit. Because yeah, I could go in, if I really wanted to, I could be charging 30 quid an hour, going out, trying and getting as many people in as I can, just seeing them for ad hoc one-off sessions, or they decide. That's a whole other thing. Yeah. Why do we want them to decide? Can you imagine, honestly, like going to, I don't know, the doctors or the dentist or something, and then me going like, oh, can I know that tooth needs to come out, but just leave it in. Just leave it.
Or can you just half fill it rather than fill all of it?
Yeah, just chip a tiny bit away. But I'm telling you how to do your job. Why do we do it? It baffles me. I really don't understand.
My husband's a mechanic, and it would be like someone saying, well, he does get this sometimes actually, but if you need 4 tyres, just put one on.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, well, that's not very safe. That's not, it needs 4. The other 3 are on cords. Oh, well, just do the one. Yeah. Like, you wouldn't. Well, most people wouldn't. Some people do, but most people would go, do you know what? From a safety point of view, you're the expert, you're the professional, I'll go with what you say. Yeah. But in this industry, there just seems to be that sort of, I don't know what it is, really. It's like we are... And this is going to sound really defeatist, and I don't mean it like that, but almost like dictated to. Yeah. And we're walked all over, and it's allowed. And it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be allowed. And again, I don't mean this to sound like in terms of clients doing the wrong thing or saying the wrong thing, but if we allow them to do it, they're going to do it, aren't they?
Yeah, of course they are.
So it's down to us, isn't it?
Yeah, if you go in and give anybody a choice on anything, then funnily enough, a lot of clients do not like having to make that decision.
No,
which is another mindset thing. We think that they need to be the ones making the decision. Whereas actually they're going, you're the professional, I need help. I really need for you to guide me on what needs to happen.
And don't you think because we come at it from that approach, but don't you think it's such a refreshing probably approach for a lot of people, and they're just, whether they've never had a dog before and it's a brand new experience, which often it is, or whether they have had somebody help them before and this is just a totally fresh approach, they're like, oh, okay, yeah. And that whole thing of you could, so as a human being, we would choose the cheapest and fastest option, wouldn't we, generally? But if that cheap and fast option isn't going to solve their problem, it's pointless.
No.
It may as well not exist. Yeah. So, you know, we should be the ones to say, actually, you've got a dog with a deep-rooted problem that needs a lot of behaviour change. One session isn't going to cut it, I'm afraid. And we should have that confidence in ourselves to be able to say that. Why are we frightened to say, what is it about
don't know.
this that makes it really hard for people to do it?
I'm not even sure if it boils down to that imposter syndrome, you know.
Maybe.
I honestly don't know. Possibly, like you say, whether it's a knowledge thing. But if that was the case, then again, I know a lot of trainers and behaviourists out there focusing on that particular profession who invest so much in their CPD and they've never seen a client for fear of getting it wrong.
Yeah.
I'm like, you probably know more than anybody, but you're not doing it.
But then it comes down to that theoretical versus practical. If they're not getting the practical experience, and when I say practical, I don't just mean hands-on with the dog, because as we know, as a dog professional, well, depending on what field, if you're a dog groomer, you've got your hands on the dog a lot, haven't you? But if you're not, it's about that client relationship and that communication and language, which we'll come to. But yeah, if you can't apply it, there's no point, is there? Like, you know, you've got to be able to do both.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me, again, that we would be dictated to by people who don't know what they're doing, i.e. the clients, to say, well, this is what I need for my dog. I'm like, but no. just no. Don't. Absolutely not. So sorry. Move along.
Yeah. But actually then, you know, coming back to that avatar of the ideal client, if you have somebody that puts those kind of blockers in and says, oh, actually, you are too expensive and I only think I need this, okay, that's fine. Like, if that's what they think and there's no, you know, you don't want to battle with people, do you? Like, the worst thing you could do is just kind of argue with somebody, because it's just going to, it's not going to have the result that you want anyway, and it's just going to get their backs up. So you kind of sometimes just have to go, do you know, I'm out. Mm-hmm. Like, if you don't want to see it from our point of view, then we're not a good fit for each other anyway.
Yeah, love that phrase.
Oh, it's the best phrase ever.
But again, it is, isn't it? It's like, well, if you don't know who you're, and I'm conscious we've been saying avatar, and if that's not clear, it's identifying who it is you want to be working with. So, and sometimes it may not come as easy as to say, oh, you know, like in marketing terms where they go, oh, I want to target this particular person between this particular age range and they shop at this store and all of that. It's like, no. I mean, yes, that's important to a degree, but not
those specifics aren't that important, are they?
I've managed to do it rightly or wrongly without doing all of that stuff. Yeah. But I have been able to identify the type of personalities I like working with, and it's really hard to articulate it sometimes, because you know when you just get a gut feel for someone.
Yeah. But don't you think it's also the way they talk about their dog and the problem? If they talk about their dog with compassion and like coming at it from the dog's point of view, I'm in straight away. Like, if they're putting the dog, not necessarily putting the dog first, because a lot of clients don't do that. They do in the end once they've worked with us, but it's that if they can see it from the dog's pain as well as their own, for me, that's yes, I want to work with you.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? It's like you've got to understand yourself. How do you work? Who do you work best with? How are you going to get those best results? How are you going to be able to service that client and serve them with the highest of values and the highest quality? Who do you want to be working with?
But also, it's rapport, isn't it? Like, if you've got someone who's polar opposite to you and doesn't have your same beliefs and values, it's this constant battle of personality types, isn't it? Yeah. As well. And if you don't have anything relatable, you're never going to get those messages across, because there's so much in that, isn't there? With, you know, again, we make friends with our clients, don't we? Like, I know you've got a few sort of clients that you actually would class as like close friends, and you've been to weddings. We go out and have a few drinks. Yeah, like, and that, how many people can say that about, you know, A, do they want to actually spend any time away from work with them, but B, like, to have that kind of relationship that's built up through work, that they feel they can call someone a friend and be invited to their wedding. Like, don't hear about it that much, do you? So,
no. And whether or not it's happening and nobody is talking about
possibly.
it, I don't know. I would love it, actually, from an industry point of view. Again, you only have to go on social medias, and any dog group, yes, okay, there are the ones that are a little bit uplifting, but if I'm being honest, I don't see it.
No, I don't either.
I'm even trying to be a bit vanilla and going, there is some out there, and if there is, you're not speaking loud enough, because I don't see it.
No, I don't see it, and I feel dragged down with them when I read these social media posts.
To the point, I actually came out of everything and I stopped going on social media for a while, and in some way it affected my business because my mindset was poor. I was like, oh God, I almost just want to isolate myself from everyone and everything, which is what you don't want to do as well, because we've seen it out there that people feel isolated doing these dog businesses as well.
Don't we? People are lonely, people need social interaction.
Yeah.
And for, like, again, coming back to the client thing, I get my social interaction from my clients. Like, I might work alone, but, you know, during the day I might see 4 or 5 clients, and I have a great time with them, as well as helping them and educating with their dog, and you know, the outcome's exactly what we're kind of aiming to. We have a great time doing it as well.
Yeah, I love it. Will randomly went on a little coffee morning the other week. I had Clay with me, my eldest. I was like, do you know what, I'll go for a coffee, and I just put in our group chat to all the clients, who fancies joining us for a coffee? We had like 5 or 6 people rock up. It was great. So I get my social buzz from that.
Yeah.
But
and they do from each other as well.
Yes.
Because we'll talk about community as well, won't we? About not only community for business owners, you know, dog professionals, but the clients having a community. And, you know, I know a lot of listeners will have group training, and we'll talk about our kind of group training, but you don't really ever get the chance to build up those networks and bonds, do you? I don't think as much as you could. And so we'll give some sort of tips of what we do to try and encourage that kind of collaboration within the clients as well, because that's really important. Because look at all these dog problems you have, everyone feels isolated and on their own with their problem, but when you bring people together with the similar issues, it makes a huge difference, doesn't it, on their outlook and their mindset and all of that we've just been talking about us lot.
Oh, I love it. You kind of forget about the client's mindset on it all, don't you? But it's so important, because you are the little fiddler orchestrating what's going on.
The mediator.
You have that ability to impact their day negatively as well as positively.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're in that crappy mindset, then it's never going to work. And then if you're surrounding yourself with negative mindsets and all of the negativity we see on social media, how are you ever supposed to feel uplifted from that?
It's tricky, isn't it? You need to be very strong to be uplifted from all of that.
And I like to think that I'm quite a strong, resilient person, but it gets me down. Like, as soon as I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's as if someone's like, I'm not exactly the tallest anyway, but I'd feel like I'm shrinking you even more.
Pushing you down.
Literally got nothing left to give.
Yeah.
So I've taken that and then go, right, do you know what? I'm either going to create something, or I'm going to go and find something that is a lot more positive. And currently that's in other industries. And that doesn't mean I'm working in other industries. It means I'm surrounding myself with other industries or other people that want to do better and be better and stop all this bitching and moaning, and let's just go out and do something.
Yeah, because we're not the only industry that has this.
No.
In fact, the more time we spend with business owners from other industries, we realise that it is quite a common thing, isn't it?
It's everywhere. So we are not on our own, fellow dog people out there. Everybody is feeling like it, and we just need to make a shift now to actually really concentrate on the fact that we are business owners. We can be awesome business owners. We can be the baddest of badasses of business owners, and your badass business could look anything like whatever it is you want it to look like. It could be a 20, 30k salary where you're only working 3 days a week, 5 hours a day. If that's what you want, go and get it. You can have it. You can have it. I'm telling you, you can go and have it. If you want a 100k business or £500,000 business, only working 4 days a week or working 7 days a week, guess what? Go and get it.
You can do it.
You can have it. You can have it. You have to tell yourself a different story. Start telling yourself a different story. Start telling yourself what it is you want your life to look like. Or I had to do an exercise the other week actually of, there's this awful app out there where you can age yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So
I daren't do it.
It's absolutely horrendous. So you take a picture of yourself and it ages you. And then imagine that person, so you in your years to come, is then telling yourself that you're living the same life you are now. And would you be happy with that?
Some people would.
You know what?
Absolutely, a lot of people would.
If you're happy with that,
that's fine as well.
Literally, that's absolutely fine. It is not about this whole like everybody has to be successful. Success is again a mindset thing of just whatever success looks like to you. I know people that are genuinely happy in a 9-to-5 corporate job, taking home some money and the bills are paid and they get to have the weekend going out either with family or friends, and they're good with that. That's fine. But there is more to it, and you can absolutely have all of that stuff. You just have to really start thinking, what do I want?
Yeah, and if you're looking for the ideal client, you want to make the ideal life for you by doing that.
Yeah.
And it's that balance, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not selfish to put yourself
But I think
first.
It very much is, that's how it comes across, is that people would think that they're selfish for doing that. And I've got to admit, a few years ago, I'd have probably felt the same way. So I'm totally with everyone that thinks that that's the case. But again, the more you work on yourself and you grow your beliefs and things and you open out to these different possibilities, it changes hugely. Yeah. And it is like a massive weight gets lifted off your shoulders and you're like, oh my gosh, why didn't I do this earlier? All the possibilities that there are that I missed really at the time. So, but you know, I don't regret anything. I did that for a reason, and now I'm doing this for a
that's it.
A
you
good
don't
reason.
know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So you have to go out and go, what do I want? How can I make things better? Whatever better looks like, whether that is a better work-life balance, whether that's more money, whether that's better clients. Start telling yourself the story that you want, and start seeing that play out in front of you, because that is going to have a massive difference without you actually having to do much practical implementation.
Yeah.
But it's harder than the practical implementation.
It's a scary thing.
Yeah.
If you're doing it on your own, it's a really scary thing.
It sounds easy, doesn't it? It's like, go away and just tell yourself a different story. That seems easier than going away and doing all this marketing and talking to people and having a sales/booking process. All of this stuff. But actually, the mindset is the hardest thing to change, because you could do all of the practical things. Like, we can give you the skills and the tools to be able to grow a business, market to your people, do social, like we can give you all of that. But if that's met with a mindset that doesn't allow for that type of growth, because it is growth, then it's never going to work anyway. So you can keep investing time and time again in all of these courses, all of these things that tell you that you're going to have a better business. But if your mindset's not right, it's never going to work. No,
and it fluctuates, doesn't it? So even though you might be feeling positive about things one week, because it's a journey, and because you might only be at the beginning of that journey, you might think, oh cool, I'm fixed, like yay, I can do all this stuff. And then something just, you come across something that's like a blocker in the road, your instinct kicks in of going, oh my gosh, this is too much, I can't do all this, I'm too exposed, and you shrink back to what you know. Because human nature says we keep ourselves safe like dogs do. So we're gonna go to do the thing that works, and it's the default, and it's hardwired, and it's safe. And so I know from personal experience that that's why the journey, so when you work with somebody helping you with these kind of issues, you kind of think, oh, like 3 months, that should do it. And it's way more than that. It can take up to 6 months, a year, can't it? Depending on how deep rooted those issues are with you and kind of personally embedded into you, it can take a really, really long time. And I was shocked how long it took for me. And I think I'm quite a strong person and quite a driven person. Like, even though I did a lot of the traditional things that a lot of trainers do and offered, I always wanted to make things better, and I always wanted to change things, and I was never just complacent with what I was doing, and would go, oh, I reckon I could do that actually, that would make that better, and that would be a better service for my clients. And so I always had that, but I just didn't go big enough. I didn't sort of take it far enough. So I thought I was already quite an open-minded person, but yeah, imagine somebody who's doesn't think like that at all, how much work there is to be done.
No, it's really, really difficult, isn't it? Really difficult.
Wow, great conversation.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, if you enjoyed listening to our podcast today on mindset and would like to find out a little bit more, then follow the links to social media in the show notes.